Others wasted it away on women and drink. I had not. The spare weapons and treasure I had collected on the battlefield, I had sold and stored the precious coins in a chest. The king, when he had dismissed me, had given me the manor and money. He felt guilty, for he knew what he did was wrong. I cursed Robert de Vere. I was still a soldier at heart, and I made certain that if I had to, then I could protect my family, my farm, my country, and my king. I had good horses. I had the local smith make me armour which was of the best quality. I no longer wore a simple mail coat. I had a breast and back plate, and I had cannons for my arm, with cuisse, polaine, and sabaton for my legs and feet. I was well protected. My arming jacket, which I wore beneath my plate, was the finest in the county. I did not like the helmets which enclosed my face, and so I had a bassinet and aventail. I did not bother with the bessigues which some men wore under their armpits, or the fold to protect the lower abdomen. I found them both restrictive. My best horse, Goldheart, was not a destrier. I could not justify such an expense. She was a courser. She was still the best warhorse I had. Jack was my hackney. He was a gelding and good workaday horse. Of all my horses, I loved Jack the best. We understood each other, and I rode him far more than the expensive Goldheart. I practiced each day. Sometimes it was on my horse and sometimes on foot. I knew that a day without training might one day cost me my life. I used my sword and shield to fight imaginary opponents. It was not perfect, but I developed techniques which still improved my skills. The 3 men who worked land which belonged to me had too much to do to practice, and so I was forced to work alone. I built up my strength, and I made sure that my horses would respond to my commands, knees and hands. One day King Richard would need me, and when he did, then I would be ready. I was a true gentleman farmer. Chapter 1. The king married Anne of Bohemia. It was a good marriage. Her father was Holy Roman Emperor, and the young king was allied to the most important house in Europe. It was not a popular marriage. There was a great deal of expense, and some people objected. It was a shame. I was not invited to the wedding. I like to think that the king might have wished to invite me, but Robert de Vere would not. He both hated and feared me. All that the king now needed was children. I wondered how Robert de Vere would feel about the king's children when and if they were born. My eldest child was born the year after the wedding. The king, 3 years later, still had no children. People began to wonder if the couple was cursed. Michael de la Pole was the new chancellor. He appeared, from a distance, to be as bad an influence on the king as Robert de Vere. I only learned of the goings-on at court when I travelled to Lincoln. Captain Tom lived there now and ran an inn. Lincoln was on the main road to the north, and travellers told old Tom of the goings-on at court. Some was rumour, and some was conjecture. But Captain Tom knew how to sift the wheat from the chaff, and most of what he told me was accurate. Certainly the king was unpopular. The halcyon days when he had put down the peasants' revolt by sheer willpower were long gone. The Queen was not popular, and his 2 advisers were hated. I feared for his future. He was hanging on to the crown by his fingertips, and there were many, his uncle, the Duke of Gloucester included, who were unhappy with his reign. In the heart of England, the place they called the Garden of England, I was happy. I had a good wife and a fine family. Robert de Vere had done me a favour by having me dismissed, but it was not good for the realm. Sir Robert Armistead liked me. I had been given the manor, and he should have resented that, but he was not a warrior knight. His son had died in Gascony, and he had raised his grandson Henry himself. His grandson was coming up to 14. He was a man.